Rockstar Games, a developer and publisher typically known for Grand Theft Auto, a franchise beloved by many which put Rockstar on the map as being one of the best developers of all time. Even back in the early 2000s, GTA was very popular. If Rockstar continued pumping game after game of the franchise, they would have profited greatly. Well, Rockstar had other plans in mind. While still developing other installments of GTA, they tried their luck at a cowboy game, a game set in the Wild West where no cars, tanks or planes are present. In 2004 they published Red Dead Revolver. This game didn't really do much for the company, sure it sold copies, but it was not groundbreaking enough and not even that well received to warrant a sequel. Soon after, however, the following year at Sony's conference at E3, Rockstar showed a tech demo of a brand new game resembling Red Dead Revolver. They had a vision only achievable with the next generation of consoles. Development on this title started in 2005 and only a small studio worked on it, while in 2006 a full-fledged development started since now they had the means, the ideas and talent to pull off what they envisioned. Years passed and barely any information popped off and fans feared the worst. Red Dead seemed to be forgotten as Rockstar continued releasing more GTA games. To everybody's surprise, however, in May the 7th, 2009, a debut trailer of a brand new game called Red Dead Redemption dropped, showing off little snippets of a new, supposedly open-world, heavy story-centered game. According to Rockstar, the previous game in the franchise did not have that Rockstar charm and was far from a perfect representation of what Rockstar is capable of. With many more games under their belt, and proving themselves to be very capable in their craft, Rockstar promised a lot and fans were very excited. Even from the short trailer we got a lot of information as to what to expect. It was not until the second trailer dropped, however, when shit hit the fan. A trailer dropped showing a lot of the happenings within the game. We learned of many of the characters, the main goal in the game, and so much more. Excitement was through the roof! Rockstar was a very established developer and publisher at that point and everybody expected greatness. Well, greatness is what everyone got when Red Dead Redemption released for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 in May 2010. PC players, once again in typical Rockstar fashion, were neglected and people like myself, who never owned a console, were extremely disappointed. Ha ha ha, but who cares about PC? Rockstar exclaimed, burying themselves in the money they generated from this game. And yes, despite only releasing on consoles, this game sold very well. However, as we have seen before, sales are not indicative of how good the game actually is. This is where I come in with this retrospective. I am Barry Infuls, a Rockstar game content creator who specializes in GTA. After waiting for a PC port of Red Dead Redemption for 13 years and after finishing Red Dead Redemption 2 twice, I finally gave up and played this game on an emulator and will share my thoughts on the title. I'll go into detail into most missions in the game and will talk about the mechanics, goals the game sets and if it accomplishes them. I'll touch on different characters, gameplay and so on. Treat this as a lengthy review if you want and share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's begin! The game starts you off on a very lengthy train ride, and I do mean lengthy. This gives me major Half-Life vibes, differences being that you can actually skip this one in RDR since it's a cutscene. Why should you though? While it doesn't give you any useful info on who you are, what you do, and most of the characters on the train are never seen again, it does show off the environment very well. Vast desert areas, rivers, forest, huge buildings and obviously skyscrapers are nowhere to be seen. Just by looking at this cutscene you know that the world you set foot in looks fantastic and that you have a lot of fun exploring it. The cutscene also shows you the state of the world as a whole, how religion seems to be a major factor in everyday's life, how faith is very prevalent and you are surrounded by people who base their whole existence on worshipping some kind of god. Not only this, but we see what people think about outlaws such as yourself, how society has moved on from lowlifes like John Marston, how technology is quickly overtaking, and that soon you live in a supposedly better, more civilized society. Just in these 10 minutes you get so much information without even saying a word. More information which other games drip feed you for hours until you get an idea of what the game is about. Well, the train ride is over and you are free to roam around the world. Let's first touch on the character movement a bit. If you're not a first-time viewer of my videos, you probably know that I despise modern style of controls. Games like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, heck even The Witcher 3 are absolutely awful when it comes to movement of the protagonist. I miss the days of GTA Vice City where turning Tommy in a direction immediately gives you results. This gave you immense precision and you don't fumble around trying to enter a small gap in a wall, a gate, and so on. In Red Dead Redemption, however, we have a middle ground. Character movement is semi-responsive while John moves in a human-like way. Way less realistic than the second game, that's why I don't have such a problem with it. Realism is not really a concern in RDR, as you'll see later in the video. This is a game first and foremost, and realism comes second. Off to a good start. In this same mission we enter a saloon, we look around the city, meet our first acquaintance and get introduced to horse riding. Ho 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 boy, the bread and butter of this game. Being an outlaw who is not really in tune with current technology and planes, and of course automobiles, you spend a lot of time on a horse. And I do mean a lot. This game I would say is 1/3 horse riding. You shoot from your horse, you jump onto trains from your horse, you fall off cliffs with your horse, you even sleep with your horse if you had the chance. A big criticism I have with the second game is how most of the game is horse riding, however, that one is 70 hours long, while this one doesn't even reach 20. When half the game is horse riding, I have no issue with it, because I'm not bored out of my skull after looking at my horse's butt for 40 hours. Here I don't get the chance to hate it because I don't get the time to. It's even very well implemented. The horse is not just a vehicle you hop on, it has feelings, it shows real life emotions. When it gets too tired, it can buck you off. When you approach a cliff, it stops and won't let you go off the edge unless you make it. Movement is lifelike. The breeds and colors are also different, giving you a lot of choice in which horse you want. Some are stronger but slower, others are fast but have less stamina. The choice is yours and you can buy whichever you want. Or even better, since money is scarce in the game, just tame one yourself. But more on that later.
You look like a man with a lot on his mind, Mr. Marston. So I won't bother you none with my chatter.
So you ride your horse and reach the main villain of the game, or at least as far as you know, since we haven't gotten much info yet. Bill Williams. So who is this guy and why do you want him dead? Good luck finding out, since Marston himself would not give you this information.
Now who's this friend you're looking for?
Nobody you need to concern yourself with.
Understandably, he is very cautious in trusting this old man. He, however, is not very cautious when approaching Bill. What he did is the most idiotic thing in the game. Bill is a wanted man, a very famous outlaw, locked up in a massive fort, guarded by many, possibly 40 or more people who would protect him. What makes you think that you can take him down with your pistol? After progressing a bit in the game, and you know why he's after Bill, you kind of understand his lack of judgment here. He's afraid for someone, and he's not thinking straight. With that said, I still think this is a dumb move. But what do I know? Well, needless to say, John got shot obviously and left for dead. For a Red Dead. I get it, cause blood. Anybody? Okay, move on.
Mister, you alive? Fuck, god damn it. Good heavens.
Understandably, Bill did not concern himself with finishing him off, since Marston does not pose a threat at all. Since Marston is the protagonist, of course he's not gonna die yet. And he's saved by none other than Bonnie. And Here we go, in typical game fashion, our protagonist will get rescued by a hot lady and they would live happily ever after, right? No, 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 no. Red Dead Redemption tells a different story. It takes many missions to realize this, but John is actually married. This info is drip-feed to you very slowly, but it's for good reason. It makes the player question what the hell Marston is doing. A hot lady who knows how to do all kinds of farm work, who knows how to handle herself, is familiar with medicine, and is not exactly that poor. It's a no-brainer. Come on, John, woo her and marry her. What's wrong with you? Is what a new player would say. Making your protagonist married already adds a little bit of a twist to the game. For instance, you cannot get a prostitute despite them almost jumping on your lap outside of missions.
Good to see you, my dear.
I'm feeling awful cold. Warm me up.
Is that true?
Ouch! Oh dear.
You are an honorable person and I respect that. So bonus missions are your typical Rockstar introduction to the mechanics and the controls. You have to gather cows, shoot rodents ruining the crops, break horses, go on a night watch so you can protect the farm, the usual stuff to get acquainted with the controls. One thing I want to mention here is how most Rockstar games handle tutorials. I believe they do it a terrible way. Every single time. While yes, for a veteran like myself, it's easy to understand what to do just by looking at the screen, but most people would miss half the info since it's always posted on the top left of the screen. So alright, a mission starts. Bonnie is saying some important thing. You are chasing and shooting animals around. And at the same time, a long ass text is shown to you. What the hell are you supposed to focus on? Trying to focus on it all makes you miss parts of every prompt. I had to actually look at the control settings despite them being right there in plain text on the screen. This is very dated design which is still present in the newest Rockstar titles. Rockstar really should change how they present tutorials, I think. So the story progresses and you get introduced to buying and selling. I am very indifferent to this mechanic, honestly. While money is indeed very scarce in the game, you don't really need it. Throughout the whole game, I only bought one gun just to see how different it is, and never really bought a horse or medicine. I think you should have had more incentive to use your money, but no. At the end I was left with several thousands of dollars not knowing what to do with them, even after buying all the properties. Oh yeah, and in fact, if you wanna get some money, a lot of money, very quickly just get your rifle, go to the desert and start shooting birds. I spent 10 minutes doing this and I got hundreds.
A fine choice.
Money is trivial here and I would not concern myself with it. So Bonnie dumps you in a town and you can now feel free to explore the world. Of course you could do it before, but now it feels like your obligation to her is complete and you can do as you please.
So this is Armadillo. Manhattan it is not, but it does okay for us.
Hunting as a whole is very limited and random NPC encounters are fairly uncommon. Pretty much every single NPC side quest like this little old lady one here is very basic. Is basically go to this location, talk to this guy, maybe shoot him, maybe hit him, take his money and go back to the NPC.
Well, my memory escapes me when not properly stimulated.
They pretty much all boil down to this. Don't expect The Witcher 3 levels of side quests here. You are much better off just doing main stuff. Speaking of main missions, you are met with the Marshal, an absolute badass who I adore as a character.
I'm here to capture or kill Bill Williamson.
Okay.
This dude is not afraid to get his hands dirty. Dude is crazier than you, man, and arguably a little more badass. His missions are all about shooting and they are a little nice break from all the boring farm work you gotta do for Bonnie. No mission of his will be a breeze and from the moment you see him you know that. His two deputies are fairly useless but at least they are loyal so I respect them for that. Despite this moron almost shooting me the first time I met him because of misinformation.
You that fella from the train company?
No, I'm from Fort Mercer.
Fort Mercer? You them one of them Williamson boys?
Calm down.
Go on, shoot him, mister. Shoot him.
Come on, what? You getting kicked with me, boy?
Still, nice characters. Initially, the marshal was not very keen to help you since Bill was outside of his jurisdiction, and he gives a very valid reason why. Like everybody though, he wants Bill dead as much as the next guy, and he agrees to help you if you help him out a bit. This is when his missions start, and like I said, there's lots of killing ahead. In between these missions, you can do a little bit of bounty hunting. These side missions are pretty standard: go here to a gang camp, kill everybody except the leader for a big reward, or kill him as well and get half the money. Honestly, just leaving him alive is not really a challenge since you can just shoot him in the leg, tie him up to your horse and go back to town. This is of course after you get your lasso from Bonnie. It's also a lot more fun doing it this way since on the ride back, his allies could accidentally shoot him and kill him. And yes, it does happen and it adds a little bit of an excitement, and I always went down with the non-lethal option.
That'll do it. Come on, let's keep moving.
Okay guys, and now for what you have all been waiting for, I would like you to meet Mr. Dickens! Woohoo!
I'm coming.
Now I don't care how much you adore Bonnie, Marston, the Marshal, Bill or anybody else who we meet later on. Dickens is my homeboy. He is the JD from LCS, the OG Loke from SA, the Beverly from GTA 5. This guy is an icon, man.
I mean, man, you're an icon, man.
A sorry excuse of a businessman whose sole purpose in life is to make money off of the backs of other people, selling them stuff which do absolutely nothing for themselves while he profits severely. This dude single-handedly increased the rating of this game to me by 2 points. Absolutely geniusly acted and animated. The voice actor is perfectly cast and his missions are adorable, just like his little mustache. I'm sorry for sucking his dick ends so much, but I loved every interaction with this character. His missions show how gullible people are and how you should not trust anybody, no matter how well they present themselves. He is well dressed, well mannered, claims to be a genius, a scientist, a man who has seen a lot, and all of that is lies. Mr. Dickens is the peak of the game, and it's only downhill from here. And I'm not joking about that. You'll see what I mean.
It adds vitality and vigor to the healthy man.
Alright, let's take a break from all the penis sucking and talk about Bonnie's father. You meet him pretty later on, and initially I thought he would be a complete scumbag, the typical father who is very protective of his daughter. I could not have been more wrong. He is a very stand-up guy and really appreciates the work you have done for the farm.
Well, you're a brave man. You're always gonna be welcome here.
Keep in mind that at any moment John could have just abandoned Bonnie and went on his merry way. He had no incentive to stay, apart from helping out since he got what he wanted: a warm bed, medicine and free food. It's nice to see that Mr. McFarlane understands that and sees the good in John. Well, not soon after, some disaster struck and the farm lost some animals in a storm, and even worse, almost lost the whole farm due to a massive fire. This was a very memorable mission. The outcome was expected, but it was a pretty nice puzzle, trying to get out of the farm and saving the horse trapped inside. The visuals were great as well, so much action, suspenseful music and worried faces. This is also the point John says this.
All I ask of you is this. If I get back home and get my farm started back up, you'll sell me some cattle. I prefer doing business with people I know.
Of course, Mr. Marston. It'd be my pleasure.
Keep this quote in mind because it will be relevant in 15 hours right before the game ends. Naturally, since you love Bonnie so much at this point, in typical Rockstar fashion, she gets abducted and tortured. Her father understandably accuses John for it, but that does not stop our protagonist from rescuing our waifu. You and the badass Marshal set off on a dangerous mission, lots of enemies, lots of murder, a big area to cover, all for this girl. They really did a number on her. Just look at how badly she was beaten up, man. Despite her almost getting choked to death, she still manages to crack a joke or two.
What the hell took you so long, you stupid man?
Well, you weren't exactly helping me.
If you think I'm gonna lower myself by making a joke about being all tied up, you got another thing coming. Come on.
Great mission altogether, and initially this felt like a pivoting point to the story. I really thought she would die here, and I would not have been surprised if she did, since a similar thing happened in GTA VCS. But the fate of the character was different. The pivoting point is coming up, but not yet. We still have some loose ends here. Which brings me back to my waifu, Mr. Dickens. After taking part in a few charlatan missions, which are superb by the way, he introduces you to a person who would help you take over the fort where Bill is located. That man is Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Look at me! Look! Scrambling around, looking for maps, half insane. I ain't washed in 6 months. My hair falling out, my mind's going.
Dude is absolutely bonkers! We went from a top tier character to another top tier character! Holy crap, this guy is interesting! Guy digs up graves, and while this is a terrible thing to do, how he's portrayed and his place in the story is very appropriate. If you haven't played this game, think of Seth as Eddie from GTA 4. It's basically the same character with slight variation. An absolutely twisted individual who you gotta work with. His whole problem with society is that he got tricked by his partner. His map got stolen, which leads to a massive treasure. All his missions are about this damn map. He's very frustrated, but I don't think this is the way to go, Mr. Seth. At least wash your anus once a week or something. Anyway, you heal this guy, find his treasure, and what do you know? There is no treasure after all. This was quite expected, but the cutscene in which it's revealed is very well made.
Stupid chicken shit maps! Making a damn fool of me. A glass eye! It's a glass eye!
Stop with the tears and help me with Williamson's gang.
Seth once again lost faith in people when he realized that all he's been working for was for nothing. Despite that, however, he does agree to help John, which actually was unexpected. I did not trust this guy from the start, but it turns out he's quite alright. So we have the next cog in the Kill Bill train, our next ally is secured. Who is next? Well, it's Irish!
Yes, boyo, you messed up properly this time, didn't you? You little paddy bastard! You thieving Mick!
You got it all wrong, Welsh. All wrong. It was French, I promise. He said he was going to rip you off. Now he's ripping me off.
One of the most forgettable people in the story. Yeah, he has his charm, sure, but I completely forgot who the last person was until I looked it up in my footage. He comes off as an annoying bastard to me. He's a scam artist just like Wes Dickens, but at least Dickens is funny and goofy. This guy, however, is constantly drunk, tries to lie to your face, sends you to your death, and doesn't care at all. Nothing redeemable about Irish, I'm afraid. At least one of his missions in the mine was great. Tight space, using cover behind minecarts, riding a minecart to victory, lots of shooting, all the good stuff. We needed him so we could get a Gatling gun.
Oh, there she is. What a beautiful weapon. God's own gun. Ain't that the truth?
Alright, time for the actual pivoting point in the story, the moment you have been waiting for. All the allies you have gathered, all the people you have killed, leads to this mission. If the game ended here, I would have been fine with it. You work together to take down the big bad. The plan was solid, use the stagecoach to hide yourself and the Gatling gun, use Dickens as bait whose job is to wow his potential clients, kill Bill and reign victorious. And man oh man was this executed perfectly well. Gatling gun controls first of all are terrible. Manual aim with a controller in this game is awful. At least in LCS and VCS you could slow down your aiming movement by holding one of the triggers. Here it's full speed all the time. One flick and the stick will completely throw you off. As far as I know, there's no slowdown button for your aiming, and if there is, let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, we have so many enemies, we have explosions, great cutscenes, hordes upon hordes of enemies rolling down on horses only to get mowed down by the Gatling gun. This mission has it all. To my surprise, this was not when the game ends, since Bill was not in the fort. He was in Mexico, the second part of the map. To visit it, you gotta raft with Irish, he rolls the raft and you shoot the baddies. A pretty fun mission, all things considered, although a bit too lengthy to my taste. Still had fun though, this applies to almost every moment of this game up to this point. The first part of the game was top notch, absolute masterpiece. Unfortunately, the fun stops here.
I don't like women, partner. I don't. Not since Mammy died.
Red Dead Redemption takes a very dark turn and completely lost me in the second part. When you move to Mexico, all the characters change, people don't speak your language, you are treated like a nobody, your allies are gone, you work for complete sleazebags, and most importantly, horse riding is way more painful than before. Pretty much all missions here are go here, kill 20 people, go back, mission passed. Travel across the entire map, and I do mean entire bottom of the map, which takes several minutes, start the next mission, pass it, and do the same travel again. This happens more than 5 times, where your time is completely wasted on bullshit. The whole Mexico part, as far as I'm concerned, is side content. None of the characters are memorable, none of the missions stand out apart from one train ride. Heck, not even the scenery was that great. I was actually ready to abandon this game. If this entire section was scrapped from the game and replaced with nothing, I would be okay with it.
I ain't planning on staying very long.
Okay, so what do we do in Mexico? Well, first we meet Landon Ricketts, a self-proclaimed washed-up gunslinger who was actually very famous back in the day.
Oh, very good. Very good indeed, sir. What a great way to improve border relations.
He gives you some shooting lessons and some missions. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Just shoot this guy, and you're done. Through him you meet Luisa, one of the most useless characters in the game. She's annoying, begs too much despite barely knowing you, and all her missions were a drag. Well, thanks to her, we meet her fiancé, who is the rebel leader Reyes. It turns out that in Mexico there's a revolution going and Reyes is leading it. The current regime is, to say it bluntly, not that great. Yeah, these two are complete trash.
What's going on here, Captain DeSanta?
Just a little recruitment. Nothing for you to be concerned about.
You boys using women soldiers now?
Our customs. None of your concern.
Using the people for personal gain, not caring about anybody but themselves, taking advantage of women and, I guess, men. They're basically modern-day politicians in Bulgaria, but a little more over the top. Now our job is to work for these two clowns, gain their trust, find out where Bill is, take part in the revolution, and help this guy get put in charge. The guy who has a fiancée but doesn't know her name. A guy who seems to be always drunk and uninterested in anything but women, liquor, and money. Yeah, a much better guy for president. Let's get him in charge of the country. Can you tell how pissed off I am at this part of the game? I don't care about anybody. About any one of these people. They're just thrown at you all of a sudden. You gotta help each one, and they're not even worth saving or helping. Okay, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's discuss the current leaders of Mexico. First we meet Mr. DeSanta. No, not this DeSanta. Just like Michael, he's complete trash of a human being. But to get information on Bill, you gotta help him. His are the missions which make me go around the whole map for hours, and of course, as you guessed, they're all about shooting people and riding a horse. One mission which stands out to me is when you gotta protect him as the train is moving. This was the first difficult mission in the game and no amount of auto-aim would save you here, amigo. There are so many enemies here that not failing here is a very difficult task. Luckily when you do fail, the game has checkpoints and you don't restart from the beginning. On top of that, even if the train has half health when you failed, it fully heals up when you restart the checkpoint. Once you gain his trust, he introduces you to Agustin Allende, the actual leader of Mexico. If you thought that Vicente de Santa was bad, then oh boy, you are in for a surprise. If I try to fully describe this guy, my video would get demonetized in a second. He's the scum of scums. But again, to gain his trust and to get Bill, you gotta help him as well. So you kill some people here and there, and finally they offer you 20,000 pesos and info on the whereabouts of Javier Escuela and Bill Williams.
How much you offering?
20,000 pesos. And information as to the whereabouts of Javier Escuela.
But only if you escort a train. This mission was the peak of the Mexico section. The peak is not too difficult to achieve since the rest is so garbage, but this was actually a very fun, exciting mission. Using the Gatling gun, like I've mentioned before, is pretty imprecise since there's no auto-aim, but I made it work. Okay, so once you do this for El Presidente, it's time for your reward, right? Of course not! Let's do some more missions for this annoying chick. Her missions are boring and her constant bitching and pleading got on my nerves. Yeah, I know she struggles and has a lot on her mind, but she did not impress me in any way and I did not care about her. So she sends us to find her fiancé, we rescue him, he doesn't even know who Luisa is despite her being his fiancé.
Luisa sent me. We have to meet her by the river.
¿Qué?
Luisa, the girl you're marrying.
Oh, yes. Such a devoted thing. El amor de mi vida.
Anyway, enough about these clowns, let's go back to El Presidente. It's finally time to get my 20,000 pesos and the man I'm looking for, right? To a surprise to nobody, they double-crossed me. Why? Because they're scumbags. How did John not see this? I have no idea. So far he made two extremely dumb decisions and honestly he should not have been alive at this point. They capture you, but in typical video game fashion you got rescued in the last moment. You shoot up the place, but guess what? Your princess is in another castle. That's right, the Santa is not here, despite being there in your face when you got rescued. You gotta chase him down, but for that you gotta pass a few missions for Luisa. Boom boom boom, blam blam blam, and poof, there he is. I was surprised here how the game gives you a choice to spare him or shoot him. Whatever you choose he would die, but your choice is to kill him yourself, and yes, his final cutscene was very, very satisfying.
Where is Javier Escuela?
Wait. Okay, alright.
So, let's get Javier Escuela, shall we? Yeah, let's visit Reyes, who totally knows her fiancé and loves her very much. And let's siege a castle. Yes, Javier is in this castle and you gotta get him. You explode the gates, get inside and face him. The guy, or I guess one of the guys, who you have been going after the whole game. Let's just talk to him, let's not shoot him, let's not tie him up, let's have a long conversation with him and let him escape. John agrees with this plan because that's what happens. Yeah, sure, you get him later on, but how much of a moron is John in this section of the game? Absolute disgrace, what the hell is going on?
You know that life we lived is over. And when we was living it, it didn't mean nothing anyway. It was just an excuse, and we all knew.
What I knew is that you was always a puto. And you're still a puto.
Alright, back to reality. Now the story progresses and you get some actual useful information. It turns out that the people who escorted you in the first cutscene sent you on this quest to capture Bill and Javier. You're not doing it because you have some sort of grudge. these lawmen have your wife and kid hostage and you gotta capture 2 of your former crewmates. After 5, 6, 7 hours of absolutely nothing, I was finally intrigued, especially after I heard...
We have reason to believe that Dutch Vanderland is in the area.
Yep, our old pal Dutch. Fortunately for me, I played the prequel and I know exactly who that is. For the people who played this game first back in the day, the name would mean nothing. Alright, the excitement was through the roof. I'm ready to face Bill and get my family back. Well, you just find him as a huge anticlimax. The next mission gives you both Bill and Augustine. The mission was not even that difficult. My boner completely flopped in a matter of seconds. Well, okay, whatever, we kill Bill, we kill the other guy too, and we are finally done with Mexico, right? Indeed, we are, but take a look at this. Yeah, another cross-country track. But at least this time we are done with this bullshit and we can progress the story. The fast travel mechanic comes in handy too. Gone is the boredom and only fun times are ahead. I apologize for being so negative, but before this point of the game, I had no intention to continue. I was bored out of my skull and didn't even remember much of the story because I wasn't even paying attention. I had to watch my own footage to remember the names of the people and the missions. But enough about that. Back to Blackwater. This is a pretty big town comparatively to what we have seen so far. We have many houses, a movie theater, a gun store, a barber who is not really a barber, a doctor, and also a saloon, probably the biggest one so far. And we can also purchase a room. And of course we do, because this town is pretty secluded and most missions from now on will be started from Blackwater. So we did what Edgar Ross told us to do. We spent 15 gameplay hours finding Bill and Javier. It's time for us to get our family back. Right? Well, see, this is a Rockstar game and this is not how things work with Rockstar games. There's a new development and we gotta get our old pal Dutch. Turns out the main antagonist was not the previous 2 goons. Allegedly it's Dutch. After a heated argument with threats and anger, we finally agree to help and capture Dutch. But enough about the boring stuff. What, or who, should I say, do we see in this cutscene? Dickie Boy, my old pal, rightfully got captured for scamming people.
I'm coming!
But in true politics fashion, he got let go because he has connections. John is a sweetheart, sure, but do we really want this man out in public again? Potentially causing physical harm and even deaths to tens or hundreds of people? I mean, I'm happy he's free because I like him as a character, but John, come on man, he would actually kill people. Here we also see something I never expected, an actual car. This piece of junk looks like a toy, and John of course runs his mouth and calls it how it is.
What do you think of this automobile, Mr. Marston? Slow, but so convenient and reliable. Are you comfortable? No.
The running joke in this whole mission is how a horse is always much better than a car. This is even proven later on. It shows us, the player, how we don't really always need to progress technology this fast, and that the first iterations of a product are usually not that great. This is the ship mission. We board a ship to rescue an informant, a future ally to our cause. At first glance, if you're familiar with how video games work, you know that the way in there would be no enemies, but on the way back there would be hordes. And of course, this is what happens. You rescue the guy and bring him back to the rust bucket. Very exciting considering how dangerous it is, since the car is not very quick. Also, for the first time we don't control a horse and shoot at the same time. Now a few of your fingers are free and you can concentrate on disposing of the people. Shooting is always a treat in this game and this mission shows that off perfectly. I suppose it's better late than ever. Let's touch on the shooting a bit, shall we? I'm a PC player who uses a mouse in shooter games. Seeing that this game was made for an Xbox 360 controller in mind, I used my Xbox One controller. Even with my lack of skill, playing this game was a breeze. I died very few times. I was pretty much never frustrated while shooting except when John locked onto birds as he was trying to kill people a few feet away from him. It's honestly pretty intuitive and I appreciate it. As you play more and more, you pick up some new tactics too. For instance, did you know that each time you aim, you can get a guaranteed headshot? All you gotta do is move the stick slightly higher right after you aim and boom! Instant headshot! It's also much easier to stop aiming right after you shoot someone and auto-aim again to a different enemy. If you don't let go of the button right away, you enter manual aim, which is garbage in Red Dead Redemption. Basically there's playstyles for everybody. If you like more difficulty, then manual aim is here for you. Auto aim is my jam here though, and I used it as much as possible. But maybe if I didn't, I would not complain about how easy this game is, but whatever, the combat is great overall in this game. Let's get back to the story though. The car breaks down, you fix it, bada bing bada boom, you bring the informant to this weirdo. When I say weirdo, I do mean it, guys. He'll be one of the main contacts from now on, so fun times are ahead. Before that though, we get info on Dutch. He's apparently in town. Time to take him down with a sniper and a lot of allies. After a lot of shooting, it's time to enter the building and face the big bad. But guess what? He is not there, right? Well, actually no. We see Dutch for the first time and I gotta say, dude, he has gone mental since the events of the prequel. He's not dressed well at all. He talks nonsense. He kills for fun. He has a much bigger and more dangerous gang. This really makes me appreciate the second game a lot more than I did before. Knowing what Dutch turned into after all this time is fascinating, and it's a great tie-in between the games. Well, being the complete dumbass that John is, he just lets him go. John didn't shoot him because Dutch had a hostage. Well, the hostage died anyway and our enemy escaped. How the hell does that even happen? Your gun was pointed at him. Just pull the trigger. Also, how the hell did he escape the building this quick? I swear, sometimes this game makes no sense. For the third time so far, John made a dumb move. I understand it happening once or even twice. But don't you learn from your past mistakes? This could cost you your life, dummy, and possibly the lives of your loved ones if you don't get Dutch. Anger aside, this mission was awesome so far, lots of action, we finally face the supposedly final enemy in the game, we let him go and we ride to the forest. This is so majestic, you don't see this many cowboys riding together in this game. It's a sight of beauty. Dutch went back to the camp and we took it over. The lives of these 20 plus men could have been spared if you just shot him in the house. John.
He got away.
Scared to shoot him? Too much to handle?
When the opportunity presents itself, I'll put a bullet in him, don't you worry. Won't like myself for doing it, but I'll do it.
Needless to say, he's not here and we gotta keep searching. On to the weirdo! This guy's a professor and a scientist. What do you think about when you hear these two words? A person with a lot of intellect, right? Sure, but this guy is actually pretty dumb. Not as dumb as Marston, but still the stuff he claims as facts are completely not true. I guess this is a reflection of the time the game was set in. There was a lot of speculation back then on how things work, and not everybody had this information. You couldn't just Google your question and expect answers. The same way you could not like videos on YouTube. Luckily you can now, so do me a favor and click the like. Oh yeah! And the game quickly explains why he's so weird. It's the drugs. He uses them and is not afraid to admit it to almost any complete stranger. The following exchange is hilarious and Mr. Science Guy embarrasses himself greatly.
Would you like to take off your slippers? Or skin a rabbit? I know we cannot see the stars, but still my heart is pure, and we meet as equals. These savages must be spoken to simply in metaphors.
No, sir. I grew up on a reservation and attended school.
Oh. Lovely.
Turns out this mission will be a doozy because we'll be climbing a mountain. But not just any mountain, but one covered with snow. Up until this point, if you have not done much exploration in the game, you would not know that we have snow. That's right, it's not all deserts, forests, rivers and the like. We have a completely different section of the map with snow, bears, and other cold weather creatures. The game completely opens up and you gotta marvel at how it's laid out. For the explorers in the audience, this would be nothing new, but for people such as myself, this was a breath of fresh air, and I embark on the journey up the mountain so I can capture Dutch. What follows is a series of climbing and shooting animals, all nicely laid out and placed in strategic locations so you get some jump scares if you're not careful. Speaking of strategic locations, ton ton ton! What a perfect place to stay at. Way to go, Dutch. Now you might think that I would criticize him for not finishing off John. First of all, this looked like it should have killed him. Secondly, would Dutch really risk climbing that high? Risk slipping or freezing to death since he has short sleeves? No, he handled it well, whereas John continuously fiddle-farted around and now he got shot. Well, since he is the main protagonist, he can't die, right? Right? Yeah, he doesn't die, and he gets resurrected. John is a cat and has 7 lives left, so we do a task for a professor and the mission after that gives us Dutch right at our feet. Turns out he's not interested in hiding, but wants to finish the job, just like a real true villain would. He gives off this final boss vibe, and up until this point you don't really know if he is. So far we have had 4 main bosses, 5 with Dutch. Do we have more? Who knows? This mission is another roof battle, this time with more enemies shooting you from all directions. Well, we escape, Dutch is gone, and so is the professor. His company was short-lived, but at least we managed to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Marston. Best of luck, dear friend.
Alright, it's time for the big bad. This is what we've been fighting for, the mission of all missions. Here we have stationary shooting with a Gatling gun, we are taking over a fort, climbing, and at the end of this, we have an absolutely masterfully made cutscene, Dutch telling it how it is. We learn a lot from him about how close our two guys were, what they did back in the day, how Dutch lost his mind. Of course, nowadays we know all this stuff beforehand since we played the prequel, but it does give us some more info, and I really do appreciate it. I also appreciate how John does not actually kill Dutch, but Dutch does it himself. John was never really a violent guy, and most of the bad stuff he has done, he did for his family, or to save his skin, and to supply stuff for his former gang. Honestly, if John got his family here, and the game ended, I would be very happy with the outcome. However, we have some development on the wife of John.
Your wife was killed in a prison riot last week. So...
Nah, he's joking, our family is finally free and we can go see it. I did not buy this for a second, clearly this was a trap, right? Right? Well, it turns out no, it was not. We ride to Beecher's Hope and we get introduced to the new 3 characters. All we worked for so far is right here. We can be free once more. And we are actually free. Most missions after this point are farming related. We gather horses, we get some cows, teach the boy how to hunt, save the boy after he was stupid enough to hunt by himself, trash talk uncle, save our hay from crows. This is a great change of pace and a much needed break from all the shooting we have done so far. Honestly, before this point, the last part of the game was kinda rushed, at least it felt rushed since we killed like 3 of the main enemies in less than 5 hours, while we searched for them for like 10-15 hours beforehand. Well, time for another break, and here is the farm. The characters are also not annoying. Yeah, our wife is a bit bitchy, but which wife isn't? Am I right, fellas? No? Luckily my girlfriend doesn't watch my videos, so I can say whatever. Anyway, I don't really think she is suited for John. Bonnie is a much better fit. Speaking of Bonnie, by the way, do you remember this line from the beginning of the game?
All I ask of you is this. If I get back home and get my farm started back up, you'll sell me some cattle. I prefer doing business with people I know.
Of course, Mr. Marston. It'd be my pleasure.
Well, it finally plays out here. She helps us kickstart the farm. She has been a valuable ally from the beginning to end. A real trooper who suffered a lot, who can finally be at peace. I guess so can we. We have embraced the farmer's life. We have our beautiful family back. We are strong once again together. All the baddies are gone. And we can live happily ever after. The end. Oh yeah, we also die. No kidding, John actually dies. The problem with playing this game 13 years after it came out is I knew it was coming. Although I wasn't expecting it to be this brutal and so sudden. It was all so peaceful and all of a sudden some lawmen attack us. Uncle dies, our family escapes and we follow Uncle's steps to the grave. Lots of people were so mad at this, and don't get me wrong, I hate seeing such an important and well-made character die, but it was fitting. Crime doesn't pay, guys, and this guy was asking for it. He ended the lives of hundreds of people, many of who did not deserve it. He was a dying breed. Technology was evolving, and the old way of life along with outlaw cowboys was dying out. It was inevitable. I'm very happy Rockstar took this approach, and I'm tired of seeing how the protagonist at the end of all their games becomes a multi-millionaire, even a billionaire, and a huge mob boss in every GTA game. It was time for a change, and this was one of the best endings I have ever seen from Rockstar. Well done, guys. Oh, but wait. We are not done yet. It's an open world game and we still need a protagonist so we can do unfinished tasks if we wanna do 100%. This someone is Jake, John's son. A few years have passed and we see him all grown up, following his daddy's footsteps and becoming a gunslinger. Also, apparently his mom also died? This was never explained, but there's lots of theories online on how that happened. I just think that managing a farm by herself really put a toll on her. Maybe she got sick, maybe raiders came and robbed the place and she got shot, maybe a certain someone gave her tuberculosis and it finally developed. That's a theory. If you don't know, this disease could take many years to develop until you start seeing symptoms. I'm actually happy this was never explained because everybody can come to their own conclusions. Sad to see that two great and one meh character kick the bucket, but they at least have got good old Jack, right? He's alright, I guess. Nothing can really top John, I guess, except Arthur, but Jack does the job. He has one mission only, and that is to avenge his father's death. This mission is actually hidden until you visit Blackwater, and many players probably missed it, thinking that the game was over, but no. You visit Blackwater, go across the country, and finally find your prey. In proper cowboy fashion, you have a duel, and you put a bullet in him. Was this enough to satisfy Jack? I really don't think so, but I was satisfied. This game was absolute bonkers, guys. I like it a lot more than the second game, and actually this one helped me appreciate Red Dead Redemption 2 a lot more. All the tie-ins, the trivia we learn about Dutch, John, his family, all the little hidden clues on what they did after the events of RDR2, this is peak storytelling, and Rockstar are some of the few who have mastered this craft. The GTA trilogy along with LCS and VCS did the same thing, and it repeats here. As much as I praise them, however, I can also tell them to go fuck themselves for not releasing all their games on all platforms. This is a game which should be experienced by everybody. I have never owned an Xbox or PlayStation console, and I, along with many thousands if not millions of people, had to wait 13 years to finally play this masterpiece when the CPUs made nowadays can handle it with modern day emulation. Exclusives only hurt the player base, and the protectors of exclusives are just as bad as the companies who restrict their games to a certain platform. Yes, even if the games are exclusives to PCs, I'm not okay with it since not everybody has the funds to purchase 3 or 4 different platforms. In short, top-notch game, and I will definitely make a 100% walkthrough in the future. Alright guys, this was my first retrospective / deep analysis on a video game, and I hope you did enjoy it. I hope I did a good job. Please give me all the constructive criticism you may have in the comment section below because I really appreciate it. If short reviews are your thing instead, you can check out the playlist in the description below. Subscribe, like, check out my Patreon to support future projects like this one, check out some of my GTA guides and walkthroughs. Thank you for watching, and a very special thank you to my supporters who are Olavili Kanin, Case Nice, Monish Pradeep, Sepp Levy, Epic Elev, The Slipgate Studios, Shane Tay, Clint McCurry, Jacob Madley, Max Robinson, Jim Francescos and everybody else.